Okay, so this is chart number 41. In this section, we will look at German stocks. So this is SAP daily time frame. So again, you have 3-period and the 12-period exponential moving average on this chart. Question 1. If you went long on this candle, then on which candle would you be out based on the movement of the moving averages? So this green candle. Number 2. Can this candle be classified as a bullish belt hold line? So this one. Number 3. What does this window indicate? So here. Number 4. Which of these 5 green candles have closed below the long period moving average? So these green candles. Number 5. Would you pay attention to that doji? So this one. Number 6. Would you classify this candle as a hammer and why? So this one. Number 7. What does this candle tell you about the market? So this candle. So question 1. If you went long on this candle, then on which candle would you be out based on the movement of the moving averages? So let's say you went long on that candle, you are going long on the bullish engulfing pattern. And immediately after a few candles, you have that golden cross. Again, you have 2 exponential moving averages here. So at that point, since it's a lagging indicator, at that point you could decide to exit that trade after the dead cross happens. So where is the dead cross here? It did not happen here. It did not happen here. Here on this black candle, there is a dead cross. The red line is crossing the blue line. So if you had gone long on this candle and just sat on that trade and followed the moving averages, you should have exited on that candle. That's a huge profit. Number 2. Can this candle be classified as a bullish belt hold line and why? The answer is no, because a bullish belt hold line comes after a downtrend. Number 3. What does this window indicate? The window simply indicates, or the window simply reaffirms the bullishness shown by the moving averages. The red line is above the blue line. So that's very bullish, and the window is simply giving us the reassurance that the uptrend is still intact. Number 4. Which of these 5 green candles have closed below the long period moving averages? So the long period moving average is the blue line. None of these candles has closed below that blue line. Number 5. Would you pay attention to that doji? I think I would pay attention to that doji because I think it is confirming this resistance. Not quite, but since it is coming at that resistance area, I would pay attention to it because if that becomes a resistance and there is a rising window here, the price is likely to get sandwiched, right? And look what happens here. The price is stuck between that resistance level and that support level. So if a doji is appearing near resistance, I would pay attention to it. Number 6. Would you classify this candle as a hammer and why? Well, this candle confirms the support created by the rising window. However, I wouldn't classify that as a hammer because a hammer should come after a downtrend. Here, it seems like the price is just consolidating. It's like a box range getting created here. So there's not much of a downtrend. A 3 or 4 spinning tops don't constitute a downtrend. So that is why I would not classify that candle as a hammer. Number 7. What does this candle tell you about the market? Well, this candle immediately comes after a tall green candle, and this green candle satisfies our criteria for a long white or green real body. So since that spinning top is coming after a very tall, vibrant, bullish candle, it is telling us that the prior trend is likely to end. So this was the first candle that told us that probably the dead cross is very near. Okay, it still took some time. It took probably 8 or 10 days to happen, but this was the first sign that probably the dead cross is near. Okay, And you never know because the price can come down and just the moving average can come down and still continue further. You never know. But at least it is giving us some clue that probably the exit on that trade is due. So this is chart number 42, Siemens weekly time frame. Question 1. Is this a false break and why? So look at this pink line. Number 2. If this was a false break, on which candle would you take a trade? Number 3. What does this long upper shadow tell you? So this. Question 4. Is that a star? So this candle. Number 5. Is that a star? So this candle. Number 6. What needed to happen to make this candle complete an ideal dark cloud cover? So this one. And number 7. Would you short this evening star and why? So this evening star. So is this a false break and why? So let's look at the pink line. So step number 1 is you have the support. Step number 2 is you need the test, which did not happen, right? This candle did not test. It directly broke that level. So that is why it is not a false break. If this was a false break, on which candle would you take the trade? If this was a false break, which means both of these candles, both of these two red candles are closing above it. They're crossing that pink line, but they're closing above that pink line. So if this was a false break, then on which candle would you take the trade? So step number 1 is the support. Step number 2 is the testing on this candle. Step number 3 is the false break on this candle, assuming both candles close above that line. And step number 4 is the final confirmation of the false break. So this is this green candle. That is where I would take the trade. What does this long upper shadow tell you? Well, this long upper shadow is confirming the resistance created by the falling window. Is that a star? Yes, it is a star. Is that a star? Yes, it is a star because it is gapping away from the previous candle. Number 6. What needed to happen to make this candle complete an ideal dark cloud cover? Well, this is a trick question. It's actually completing an ideal dark cloud cover because it's opened above the high of the prior green candle. Number 7. Would you short this evening star and why? Well, I would not short this evening star because it's still not confirming this resistance area. What if the price starts to go up from here, tests this level and then starts to fall? So that is the reason why I would not go short on that evening star. It has to confirm something. Chart number 43, Deutsche Telekom, daily time frame. Is that a false breakout of a rising window? So you look at this pink line here. Number 2, give me 2 reasons why you would buy on this candle. So this green candle. Number 3, if you bought on this candle, where would your stop loss be? Again, the same candle. Number 4, how many times this resistance line has been tested on this chart? So this pink line. Number 5, is this a false breakout? So this one. Number 6, would you buy on this candle and why? So this, the red candle. Number 7, is that a false breakout? So I have drawn a line here. Well, is that a false breakout of a rising window? So you see this pink line. You have a rising window here. So the low of that rising window becomes what? Support. So first is the support, that is step number 1. Second is the test of the support here, that is step number 2. Third is the break of that support lines on this red candle. So that's step number 3. And 4th is a close back above that pink line. So this candle completes step number 4, and after which price went up. See, if you would have bought on that candle, you are making money there. So that's a false breakout. Number 2, give me 2 reasons why you would buy on this candle. So one reason, as I explained right now, that it's completing a false breakout, the 4 steps. And the second reason, if you look at the close of this candle compared to this red candle, it's also completing a variation of a piercing pattern, right? Because it's closing above the midpoint of the prior red candle. So those are the 2 reasons I would buy on that candle. If you bought on this candle, where would your stop loss be? Well, of course, my stop loss would be the low of this candle. Number 4, how many times this resistance line has been tested on this chart? So this pink line, so this here it becomes resistance. So this, it is testing here once, second. Although this candle opens above the line but closes back below, so that is also a successful test. Number 2. And here you have number 3. So 3 times that resistance line has been tested. You might think that this is a breakout, but it is not. That is exactly the reason why I have posed this question to you, because you might get confused. Is this a false breakout? Well, it's not a false breakout, right? For a breakout, you want to close above the resistance. Again, this is an opening above resistance. It is not a close above the resistance. Number 6, would you buy on this candle and why? So if you look at this candle, would you buy on that candle? Well, the answer is obviously no, because first, it's a red candle. Why would I buy on that red candle, which is bullish, which is bearish in nature? Secondly, just because it is confirming prior support doesn't mean that I put a buy order on that candle. Number 7, is that a false breakout? So let's look at this. So first, you have a resistance. Second step, you have a test of that resistance. So this is step number 1. Step number 2. Step number 3 is that a breakout of the resistance. And step number 4, close back below that pink line. So this candle completes step number 4. So yes, that's a false breakout, and you see the price has came down after that false breakout. So this is chart number 44, Volkswagen, weekly time frame. Question 1, why would you buy on this candle? So this green candle. Number 2, this candle does not complete a piercing pattern. Is it still wise to buy there? So again, the same candle. 3, does this candle make you think whether it's a dark cloud cover or not? So this red candle. Number 4, would you pay attention to shooting stars like these and why? So this one. Number 5, would you buy on this candle and why? So this one. Number 6, would you buy on this candle and why? So again, this green candle. Number 7, is it difficult to spot the change of polarity on this chart? Why would you buy on this candle? So if you look at this green candle, first you have a rising window here. So it becomes a support area. And here is a successful test of that support. Now the good thing about this candle, even though it is not completing a piercing pattern, the reason why I would buy on that candle is because it opens below that pink line but closes back above it. So I have explained this, that whenever something opens below a support, an established multi-tested support, and closes back above it, that itself is very bullish. So I would buy on that candle, but I would take a minor position since it is not completing a piercing pattern. Same applies for a resistance. You have a resistance line. A candle opens here, but it closes back below. Even if it is not completing a pattern, that's very bearish, right? So it makes sense to take some at least minor position on that candle. Number 2, this candle does not complete a piercing pattern. Is it still wise to buy there? Of course, it makes sense to buy there. As I explained, it opens below and closes back above. Definitely I would buy on that candle. Number 3, does this candle make you think whether it's a dark cloud cover or not? Of course, it forces us to closely look at where is the close of this candle relative to this green candle. So, since it is forcing us to think, it is not really a dark cloud cover. A dark cloud cover should be something which is very obvious to the naked eye, right? If you were to measure something like this, then give it a benefit of doubt and forget about that trade. That's not a dark cloud cover, okay? Number 4, would you pay attention to shooting stars like this and why? I would not pay any attention to this shooting star because it is not a shooting star because of this long lower shadows. For a shooting star, the lower shadow should be negligible or no lower shadow at all. Number 5, would you buy on this candle and why? So if you look at this candle, it's completing a rising window. So just because it is completing a rising window doesn't mean that you buy on that candle, because what if the price goes up, comes down, tests that level and then goes back up, right? So that is the reason why I would not buy on that candle. Number 6, would you buy on this candle and why? So if you look at these two candles, that is completing a variation of a piercing pattern. That's not quite a bullish engulfing pattern. It's completing a variation of a piercing pattern, and it is confirming that support of that rising window. So a variation of a piercing pattern confirming the support created by the rising window, that's enough for us to be a trade setup. So that is why I would buy on that candle. Number 7, is it difficult to spot the change of polarity on this chart? I don't think it should be difficult to spot the change of polarity on this chart, because if you simply extend this line, right, and you see what is happening here, these two candles are making that same line as a multi-tested resistance. So this was multi-tested support. This candle breaks that support and here it becomes multi-tested resistance. So it's not difficult to spot the change of polarity on this chart. So this is chart number 45, Allianz daily time frame. Question 1, would you buy on this candle and why? So this red candle. Number 2, would you buy on this candle and why? So this green candle. Number 3, does this candle complete a false breakout and why? So you look at this pink line and this candle. Number 4, would you short this candle and why? So again the same green candle. Number 5, how many times is this support level tested? So this pink line. Number 6, is this a valid support level and why? So another pink line here. Number 7, if this had been a valid support, then on which candle would you consider buying? So again the same pink line. Would you buy on this candle and why? So obviously I would not buy on that candle because it's a very vibrant bearish candle. So you have this rising window here which becomes support. Here it gets tested and is actually completing the third step, which is the false break, right? So we have to wait for the fourth step. So that is another reason why I would not buy on that candle. And obviously, why would you buy on a red candle? Number 2, would you buy on this candle and why? See, this candle is completing the fourth step, right? So first step is the rising window. Second step is the confirmation of the support of the rising window. Third step is this false break. And the fourth step is the close above that pink line. So this candle is completing the fourth step. So it makes sense to buy here, right? But why would I not buy here? Because you have resistance here, correct? Number 3, does this candle complete a false breakout and why? So if you look at this candle, now people who do not have proper candlesticks knowledge will never understand why I am asking this question. But since I have taught you these concepts, I think you should be able to answer it. The answer to this question lies in what is happening here, not what is happening here. So does this candle complete a false breakout? So if you look at this pink line, so step number 1 is this is becoming a resistance here. This candle confirms that resistance. So at that step number 2, that pink line becomes multi-tested resistance. At step number 3 is a breakout. This candle closes above that pink line. And after this candle, you have this candle which is completing a falling window. So this candle is actually completing our 4th step. So this candle is actually completing a false breakout. So this highlights the importance of looking at each candlestick very carefully. People who do not understand candlesticks will never know what I'm trying to explain here. But now that you know the 4 steps, you can clearly see that this candle is completing that false breakout. It is confirming that this was a false breakout. Number 4, would you short this candle and why? Why am I asking you this question? Because this candle is completing the falling off the roof situation, right? The false breakout. Correct? But after the falling of the roof, generally you short the candle. But here, would you short the candle? Because if you short here, your stop loss would be somewhere here and your target would be somewhere here. That's a poor reward to risk ratio, right? So just identifying the false breakout is not enough. You have to look at the context in which that candle has occurred. If it's a poor reward to risk ratio, you don't take the trade. Number 5, how many times is this support level tested? That's very easy. So you have support here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times that support level has been tested. Number 6, is this a valid support and why? So I have drawn this second line at the low of this candle. That's not a valid support because of this upper shadow. Now this candle, because of this upper shadow, does not satisfy our criteria of a long white or green real body. That is the reason why I wouldn't consider that as a support line. If this had been a valid support, so which means if this candle had closed somewhere here, so opening near the low, closing near the high, satisfies our criteria for a long white or green real body, then on which candle would you consider buying? So if this becomes potential support, right? The candle, since it satisfies our criteria for a long white real body, that's an assumption. So that line becomes potential support here. On this candle, that same pink line, I am talking about this line, that same pink line becomes support. That support level on this green candle becomes multi-tested support. That same pink line on this candle completes the 3rd step, which is the false break, right? And this candle, since it is closing above that pink line, this candle completes the step number 4, which is the confirmation of the false break. So I would consider buying on this candle. Again, for people who do not understand candlesticks and who do not pay attention to individual candles, they will never understand what I'm talking about here. But you being trained now, I think you can understand what I'm trying to explain here. Assuming this candle completed our criteria, that was the potential support. That this line was a potential support on that candle. On this green candle, that same line becomes support. On this green candle, the same line becomes multi-tested support. On this green candle, it creates a false break. And on this candle, which creates a rising window, by the way, the false break is confirmed. So I would consider buying on that red candle. But mind you, I would only consider buying. That doesn't mean that I will buy on that candle, because you also have to look at the reward to risk. So you have the target here. If you buy here, probably if you put your stop loss here at the window, then you have a good reward to risk. But if you keep your stop loss at this level or this level, then you really have to think about the reward to risk ratio in this case.